This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
Put them numbers to your numbers and make them numbers go up.
No.
What do you mean no?
It wouldn't work.
And co-host Marnie Winfield.
That's why they say you're transferring $1,000 USD. US dollars.
Oh, yeah, that is true. It is the 16th of November, 2022. My name is Corey Winfield. Marnie is off tonight, but joining me on Discord is Adam Brothers. Adam, how you doing, man?
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. Hey, thanks for jumping on, man. I know Marnie is super busy, going back to school, working like 8 jobs, and she just can't be here for all of them. So
trying to take over the world.
Yeah. You know, I got to be a billionaire somehow with a name like Winfield, and you know, Marnie's out there doing the footwork. Nah, but she's very busy, and she appreciates it too when she gets home at 10 o'clock, and I'm not like, hey, let's go in there and do a podcast, honey. I get the look of like, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Long day.
Yeah. Dealing with all the crap that she has to deal with, you know, and it's like, oh, honey, let's go do a podcast. I've waited 8 hours for you to get home. So, yeah, I don't have to get that look of her. I mean, she likes doing it, but yeah, sometimes she's just like, man, I'm spent. You know, she gets home and just hits the bed and she's out. She just wants to.
See, we have ours once a week, so it's like on the weekend, one shot deal. So far, it's been pretty easy as far as trying to get her to go and do it. But she enjoys doing it a lot, too.
Yeah. Your podcast is the Stone Soup Recovery Podcast.
That is correct.
And it takes a minute to get it dialed in. I know you were dealing with some mic issues and stuff like, not really mic issues, but just equipment stuff and getting everything dialed in, man. It takes a minute.
It does take a minute. And like when I went back and actually listened to some of your very first podcasts, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's okay that I'm screwing this up.
Yeah. Because
it's all right.
Yep.
You know, it'll be okay. It'll be better.
Yeah. And when you sent me one and I was like, hey, you know, and I think I was like, hey, you know, I'm hearing this, and you're like, oh, I feel stupid. And I was like, man, don't beat yourself up, man. That was like your third or fourth episode, you know. I was like,
that's where I had Darth Vader. I sounded like,
yeah.
And so tonight on tonight's podcast,
but it takes a minute, man. And you know, but for real, don't beat yourself up, especially, you know, go back and listen to some of my early ones. And you know, we had one mic and 3 guys. We were passing the mic around. Then we got big time. We got our second $30 microphone, and we thought we were, you know, big time then. Not really, but it was it was just like, yeah, we got another mic, you know. And but then it was like, okay, we had to do a website, you know, like there was other things that I was trying to like nickel and dime and to put together. And you know, a $30 mic was like a $500 mic to me, you know, like it was like, do we have money for that, you know? And it was hard. But we did it, and, you know, you just have to go through the motions, and you'll look back and listen to your first episodes in a year, and you go, man. But you'll appreciate the come up, too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience so far, and I love the nerdy aspect of it, too. You know, the software and figuring everything out and getting it right, and that intrigues me. You know, I've learned a lot.
And now that you're a podcast professional, like what advice would you give? Because I'm sure there's people out there listening going, man, I love to tell my story, I love to be on there, I love to do that.
What advice would I give them?
Yeah.
Just do the first one and be honest. Those 2 things. If you can just get in front of the microphone and allow yourself to be vulnerable and be honest, I think that you'll resonate with people. And
yeah,
I think it's that easy.
There's some truth to that, you know, and that's how you kind of build your audience, and that's how you make your connection, is by being vulnerable, being honest. And, you know, and you're not telling people what to do. Like, you have to do this, you have to do that.
No,
I don't do that. You know, I tell people they probably shouldn't drink, probably shouldn't use drugs if they want to be in recovery, but like, I'm not telling people what to do, what not to do. I say, this is what worked for me, this is what didn't work for me. Because a lot of that, our stories.
Yeah. I've met people like that in the past that were recovery overlords, and they tried to tell everybody everything and how to do it. And, you know, if it was up to them, they'd change AA and everything else around too. You know what I mean? So I've met those people, and No, we're nothing like that.
No, and as long as you can say, hey, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, because our stories are so similar that if that didn't work for you, that probably might not work for me, but I'll still try it my way first. And then when I fall flat on my face again, maybe I'll realize, maybe I'll listen to other people. And that's how I did my whole recovery journey. I mean, we all kind of do that. We're still trying to hold on to that little piece of hope which is really delusion. No, one day I can still drink again. And one day I'll be able to watch a football game and drink a few beers, but the reality of that is there's no way in hell I would ever do that. And that doesn't even sound like fun. Who wants to drink just a few beers?
No.
Point of that.
No. See, I like the word you use, disillusioned. Mm-hmm. It is. It's a disillusion, man. It's a lie, isn't it?
It is.
I know. My brain tells me stuff. So, I mean, I'm sober a little over 2 years now. My brain tells me stuff, and I recognize it for being the alcoholic part of my brain.
Like me saying, and I hear this quite a bit. Oh, I like to just, have a few beers and I'm grilling out, man. Beers taste so good on a summer day. No, it's nothing to do with the beer.
No,
it's the disillusion of this is an excuse that you've used for a long time of, I always drink beer when I cook food. Meanwhile, you forgot to mention the pint that you have in your pocket that you didn't tell your wife or your girlfriend about that you've been sipping on. And I've only had 2 beers, honey. I don't know. It's IPA or something.
Wrong.
I don't know. And you leave that whole story out of it, but it has nothing to do with it. It's like saying, hey, Adam, we're going to go to the amusement park. We're going to go to Cedar Point, and we're going to wait in the line for the biggest ride, and we're going to wait 2 hours. And then right before we get up there, we're going to go, nah, sorry, let's go home. No, we're going to ride that damn ride.
We're going to ride the ride.
I'm really bad at analogies, but like who's going to have just 2 beers? Nobody. Maybe normal people.
Normal people.
You and I. That if you were like, hey, you want a beer? What? No. If I'm going over the edge, I'm going over the edge. I'm not going to stand in line for 3 hours and not ride the ride. No, I'm going to ride the ride and stay on it.
I'm going to try to ride the ride a couple times. That'd be me right there.
The problem is the ride won't stop, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. and then we're praying we fall out.
It's true. Foxhole prayer. Lord, save me now.
Remove this bar from me so I can fall out this time. I'm ready. I'm done. I'm tired. Nope. You're staying on it, buddy. No.
I was mangled by that ride. I'll tell you that. And they talk about that in the big book about how people, when they describe it as being mangled by alcohol. And that's how I was. I was mangled by that ride. You know what I mean? I was. It had me, man. It had me. And no matter how bad I wanted to get off that ride, I couldn't. No matter how bad I wanted to, I just couldn't. It took me going to rehab and having a spiritual experience that the big book talks about. Everything changed for me, and we've talked about that compulsion to drink, that compulsion to want to have to ride that ride was gone. I didn't have it anymore. And it's the last thing that I want to do. I know that. Can't pay me enough.
Mm-mm. It's crazy because we have to go through it, man, and that's what I see, like parents who talk to me, they're like, oh, my son, my daughter, whatever. And I just see that look in their face of like, they want to believe that it can happen to their child too. And it can, absolutely can.
Absolutely.
But it's not overnight. It's a lot of heartache. It's a lot of banging your head against the wall. But to not give up and just to know that if your son or daughter, friend, whoever, wife, husband, if they're willing to start looking inward and going to treatment, and maybe it's inpatient, maybe it's outpatient, maybe it's talking to a preacher, maybe it's whatever. If they're willing to take a step, that is good. That's a huge part of it. It's kind of like starting the podcast. You got to take that first step. You got to do that first episode. And you just dial it in from there, and they're still going to try to do things their way, like the same thing with the podcast. You're going to like, well, I don't want to do this, or I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this other one. I'm going to buy this other big microphone. And then you realize that microphone is probably worse than the $30 microphone. That happened to me before. Right. and you're just like, damn, that was a waste. Let me send that back. Well, it's kind of the same way when you're going through the steps in early recovery, you know, and you're going through the process. You're trying to find what works, what doesn't work, what do I like. You know, everybody's saying AA is this other great microphone. Well, I tried that microphone and it just didn't sound right with my equipment. You know, well, let's go to this other microphone. You know, okay, well, that's NA. Okay, cool. That's not. Oh, what about this one? It's Dharma. What about this? And well, let me go back to AA. Let me go back to that first microphone, and maybe it's my board that's messed up. Maybe I need to try something else here. And you just kind of put it all together, and finally start making some strides, some progress. You know, and people are out and they're listening to your podcast. Go, man, you sound better. You know, and it's the same thing. You're out and people are like, hey, you're looking great. You know, you're showing up for work on time and give you a raise, you know, like things start happening in your life and you start looking back to go, wait a minute. Yeah. And then you run into those situations where as an AA, it says used to baffle us. And now we're just like, wow, I handled that so much better. And the old me would have just ran and drank and I would have screwed everything up. And now I do things different. And wow, that's great. I can actually see that and I can recognize that. And you start acting instead of reacting to situations, you know, right. And it just kind of starts flowing. But, you know, those people, like I said, they look at me and they're like, well, my son or daughter can, you know, they just need some help. And you're just like, yep, they do. But don't give up, you know, is what I tell people. And it's a fine line for some, you know, where does helping and where does enabling, where does that line cross? And different people, different situations. You know, my mom stopped giving me money, you know, because I would flip around and I only did it a couple times probably, but I'd show her, here, look at my bank account, Mom. But I'd show her my checking account and I just moved the $17 that I had in my checking over to my savings so I could show her that I had 8 cents in my checking, you know, and I'm like, I really need gas. And then I would use her money for gas because I told her, hey, I'm not spending your money on alcohol, but really I was, because I'd use her money for gas and I'd flip that $17 back into my account and buy some liquor. You know, and if I did
the way we think.
Yeah. And at the time I thought, well, I mean, I knew I was being dishonest, but I was justifying it as, well, I didn't spend her money on it. I used her money for gas like she made me promise. Well, no, because if she wouldn't have given that to me, I wouldn't have had liquor, you know? So, but she learned, you know, and you need some gas? All right. And it was going to be on her time. Well, in the morning or whenever, maybe tonight, we can go right now, but I'm riding in the car with you. I will hand you the card and you will put it in your account. Or not in your account, but you'll put the gas in and there you go. You know, and I guess I could still have done the same thing. Well, hey, look, but, you know, she at least was not going to trust me with the $20 anymore. It was, no, well, you're going to pull right up to the gas pump and I will put $8 of gas in and that'll get you home, you know, and okay. But it's kind of embarrassing that we have to go through that. You know, I was a grown ass man, you know, like 40 years old, 37, 38, something like that.
Been there with my mom. My mom and I, my mom and I had a kind of a different relationship. We used to drink together back in the day, and but it got to the point to where my drinking got out of control, and everybody else would be fine except for me, and it got to the point where she wouldn't believe anything that I had to say because I was just like you. It was always a scam. It was always, no, I'm not going to buy booze. No, you know, and pretty soon the big answer was just no. So I was, you know, what am I going to do, you know, with mom? But I felt that, you know, I'm 47 years old, you know, and, but boy, life is different today. It sure is. Life is different in recovery. I don't have those same problems today that I had back then. You know, my problems today are a lot less, you know, a lot less. And there's hope in recovery. There really is. And I'm living proof of it. I am living proof of that recovery works. Because here I was a homeless gutter bum. And I lived my life that way. And I never thought I'd ever have anything good in my life. And here I am with a nice home and somebody that loves me. And I'm sober and I have friends. And, you know, things that used to baffle me don't baffle me so much anymore.
Yeah,
Still got a ways to go, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, man, when it all comes together and you just start thinking, wow, like why did I take so long? Like that was for me. It was like, why did I wait so long for all this? And why was I still trying to hold on to the old way that clearly wasn't working? But that's part of the trip, man. We have to go through it.
Disillusion.
Yeah. And that's how we learn as humans. We do things. And when we first rode a bike, we didn't just jump on and take off. And if we did, well, I'm sure we still crashed at some point. And, it's just how it goes. But yeah, just hang in there and look at it like a podcast. Each show is going to get a little bit better, man. Just a little bit better today than yesterday. And add that up after a year. And you're just looking back going, damn.
I got something here.
There was this one guy that was starting a podcast, and I was helping him out. And he was kind of like, I think, wanting me to go, hey, here's some of my microphones, and I was like, nah. I was like, you gotta experience that come up, and
that's right.
It's like, yeah, we could donate some microphones to some people, but I kind of like, and having them in the office just chilling, going, hey, that's what we used to use right over there, like
there you go.
Having that memory of, being down there and just that starting out, like I think if somebody just would have gave me some microphones, it would have ruined the experience of it all.
Would have cheapened it for you, huh?
Yeah. Looking back now, I can go, hey, I did that. And I'm proud, of coming up and what we have now. And it's like the most recovery podcast episodes in the entire universe of the planet Earth.
I know.
The Milky Way solar system.
What are you going to do when you get to 1,000?
I'm doing a couple
you're
more.
You're going to hit 1,000, bro.
Couple more 1,000. Yeah, I think like in a year. Like we used to do 4 a week, and now we only do 3 a week. But yeah, I don't know. Should we throw a party?
Should do something. It's 1,000, bro. You got to do something to celebrate 1,000 episodes.
I think I will do 1,001 episodes to celebrate my 1,000th.
That's awesome.
No, it's crazy. It's like yesterday, I didn't do a podcast. I wasn't feeling well. And I used to like beat myself up over it, especially like when we were first starting. I didn't miss an episode. It didn't matter if I was sick. I didn't care. I was doing them. But I really needed to then. Well, now it's like, looking back, it's like, you know what? There's 720 other episodes or whatever they can listen to. It's like if they're really needing to hear something, go back, and with our app, you can go back through and then listen to all of them, so it's kind of interesting and overwhelming at times too. I think, if someone's just jumping in or just listening now and they're just like, oh my God, like which one do I listen to? Like, how do I go back and
it's a
pick
lot
one?
To throw at somebody.
It really is. There's this one kid down in Cadillac. His name's John, and he was listening from the beginning. And last time I checked in on him, he was in 2020. It was right around like we got married. So 2020, December of 2020, he was in there, and I was like, whoa. I was like, you still got a long ways to go, man, to catch up.
Yeah.
But that'd be kind of interesting to go through and listen to him like he's doing. I think that's pretty interesting, but it's a lot of work.
I'll never catch up to you. I won't. I never. You're king of the hill as far as that goes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like people should just do their own thing and let it happen how it's supposed to. And I think what you're doing is great with the Stone Soup Recovery podcast. And once a week is great. You have good stuff that you're talking about, and that's the realest part of it. And the rest is just fun, and it's a hobby, and it helps people.
Well, later this month, just so you know, later this month, we're going to have on an actual prisoner from the MDOC. Going to come on, who's trying to get out and get into rehab. And we're going to have a really nice, valid conversation about what that looks like for him and what that looks like on this side of things, too.
Hell yeah. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be like probably the 30th of this month.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about it.
Do you have like a Facebook page and all that? I know you were gonna set that stuff up.
No, I don't. I mean, I do. Actually, I do have a Facebook page, Stone Soup Recovery Facebook, but I don't have a .com, which I want to get.
Okay.
You know, I want to get set up a little bit more, but we're just easing into it. You know, so the Facebook is going good. It's going all right. I could use more people, but it's going all right. I could reach more people. You know, they want me to pay for advertising. I'm not sure if I want to do that.
That Facebook stuff's crazy because like a lot of it is bots, and you're just like, you're not. Oh, here's how many people you reach, but you're not really reaching those many people because they're not real people, and it's like. But word of mouth is the number one way of advertising. So.
I agree.
It's facts. But. Well, Adam, this was just a little short podcast. I have to make sure dinner's ready when Marnie gets home. Otherwise, I'll be sleeping on the couch. Just kidding.
That's right.
The things I do for her is because I want to do it for her. So, but I appreciate you jumping on, man, to talk a little recovery tonight. And you know, I'll always plug your podcast. You got a new episode coming this weekend.
We do. It'll probably Sunday or Monday. I'll be publishing it. Okay. I was doing it on Mondays, but then we started doing it on the weekends, and it just seemed to work out a little bit better.
Yeah, dial it in, baby. Dial it in. Stone Soup Recovery Podcast, and you can listen to that on iHeartRadio, on Amazon and all that jazz, Spotify,
Apple.
Cool. However you listen to your music is where you can get them. But yeah, check them out, Adam Brothers. I appreciate you taking the time again, man.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. It really is.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. We hope you come back for our next episode.